Hey everyone, Nick here again, back to talk about The Walking Dead. This is my review of episode 5 of season 8. Now, Scott Gimple promised that the first 4 episodes of the season would be action-packed, and they were. But that meant that it would slow down in episode 5. So, I wasn't like, oh, this episode's going to be terrible, but I was a little hesitant because last season a lot of them were slower, and maybe not all of them were as well done as they could have been. This episode was extremely well done. It may have been a change of pace from a previously good pace, but this was very well done. I really enjoyed this episode. Let's just get right into it. The 2 stars of the episode were Negan and Gabriel. I mean, we last saw them in the season 8 premiere. They got locked in the trailer together. We haven't seen them since, so been a little on edge as to what happened to them, where it would go, and the scenes with Negan and Gabriel were fantastic. I don't know who had the idea to even put those 2 together, because off the top of my head, I don't remember them having any interaction at all in the comics. Or if they did, it was very brief. Like, at best, it may have been something along the lines of the first time they met when Negan showed up for his first payment early in Season 7. I think it was like Episode 4 of Season 7. And he just sees Gabriel standing behind him. He's like, "Whoa, you are creepy!" And that was funny. And that comes up again. But that may have been the extent of their interaction in the comics, if that even happened. I mean, I don't think that happened, but if they interacted, it was not much more than that. So already, they've been together a lot more on the show. And I don't know who had the idea to put them together, but it was a good idea because they were fantastic together. They had a great chemistry with each other. Both of their performances were really well done. They just had really fascinating chemistry with each other, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Seeing Gabriel try to get a confession out of him and eventually succeeding to an extent. It was awesome. I love the 2 of them together, and I hope that they have more scenes together in the future. Now, Seth Gilliam's performance as Father Gabriel was good, but as usual, Jeffrey Dean Morgan stole the show. He usually does. But I mean, he was so awesome. The dialogue he had is always funny, but it was next level in this episode. He makes a lot of testicular references throughout the episode, but you know what? It's part of his charm, honestly. He shouldn't be charming, and that should not be charming, but he's just got a way about him. He makes it work. And we also got to see a new side of him, which was really, really well done. I mean, he almost cried at one point. Gabriel came really close to breaking him. And it was really something watching him almost break down and talking about his first wife, his pre-apocalypse wife, who died of natural causes, apparently. So that was really good to see. It's nice to know that he's actually still somewhat of a human being. We also got a lot of scenes inside the sanctuary with the other high-up saviors trying to figure out what to do next. So obviously there was Dwight, Simon, Eugene. Eugene is one of the higher-ups at the sanctuary now. Part of me loves that, and another part of me is like, what are you doing? But all of the savior scenes with each other, where they're all debating what to do, who did what, who's responsible for what, was all really interesting to see. And of all the other saviors, the one who stood out the most for me was Simon. I mean, he's someone I've always kind of looked at him like you have potential to be extremely crazy. But so far, he hasn't really done much more than the average savior. I mean, we've seen Dwight kill more innocent people than Simon at this point. Although I'm sure Simon probably has killed more, we just haven't seen them. But yeah, Simon was my favorite savior, apart from Negan, in this episode. The actor who plays Simon, Stephen Ogg, first time I saw him was in Grand Theft Auto 5. He plays Trevor, one of the protagonists of the game. And if you haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5, all you need to know is that Trevor is deranged. Like, he's meant to be the stereotypically insane, murderous, rampaging gamer that is often associated with Grand Theft Auto. Trevor was meant to be that personified. And in this episode, Simon became more and more like Trevor. And it was awesome to see. Like, when he was yelling at all the saviors that had come upstairs, he sounded so much like him. His yelling voice just, it reminded me so much of Trevor, and I loved it. As far as the Rick and Daryl fight, or as I like to call it, the Walking Dead Civil War, I would call that fight frustrating, but not exactly unrealistic, because, I mean, they are two guys with two different ideas on how to deal with this very serious situation. So I understand why they came to blows with each other, although it was still hard to see. I think that's what was most frustrating for me, is just the fact that I love both of these characters and I don't want to see them fighting. But, you know, I understand why. Neither of them, particularly Daryl, is all the way there right now. I mean, I don't want them fighting, period, but if I had to pick a side between Team Rick and Team Daryl, I gotta say Team Rick, because Daryl was just being a little unrealistic and very unreasonable. I mean, like I said in my reaction video, as much as I love Daryl, he was a real butthole in this episode. I mean, honestly, I just kind of chalk it up to a testosterone attack. So I get why it happened. So I wouldn't call it unrealistic. I think it was a very believable fight, and the reason why they were fighting was believable. But even though I'm Team Rick in this debate, I can't help but wonder why he threw the explosives at the truck that was on fire. There were 359 other degrees that you could have thrown it. You throw it at the one that's on fire. Okay, that makes sense. But still, overall, like, the fight itself, I understand why it happened. What I would say is unrealistic, however, is the fact that Negan and Gabriel survived going through the herd. Now, they do the whole cover yourself in guts trick, which has worked plenty of times, but they start shooting and beating their way through it, and there was a lot of zombies there. And honestly, I don't know how they didn't get bitten or scratched. Although, to be honest, at the end, Father Gabriel didn't look too hot, so he might have been bitten or scratched. I guess that's possible. But the fact that they made it through, surrounded by probably 10 times as many zombies as there were that killed Shiva, the fact that they got through it is questionable at best. Something else that's also pretty questionable is seeing Rick at the end making his way back to the trash people. I mean, unless he's going there to shoot everybody, which he wouldn't do because he would be unsuccessful. There's too many of them. He's got one gun. And they're pretty slick. But just seeing him, judging from the trailer, it looks like he's going back to ask for their help again. I'm like, Rick, did you forget that the lady in charge just shot you? She pushed you off a balcony? The first time you met her, she pushed you off a giant trash mountain into a pit with a zombie covered in spikes? Like, why are you going back to this place for any reason other than to kill everybody? So I don't know what Rick is thinking. I don't know if he thinks this is actually going to work. It's just, I don't really think that makes a lot of sense, but you know what? I guess I should probably hold off judgment on that one until after the next episode to see how it goes. Overall, I'd give episode 5 a 9 out of 10. It may not be as action-packed as the first 4 episodes, and it does have a couple of questionable moments, but it's still very enjoyable, very entertaining to watch. I thought it was very well made, and honestly, Season 8, in my opinion, is already, as a whole, better than the entirety of Season 7 combined. I did not hate Season 7 as much as everybody else did, but I had problems with it, and honestly, I have not had many major problems with Season 8 so far. It's been extremely exciting, and I've loved pretty much every second of it. So, that'll do it for my review of Episode 5, and I will see you next time.